in a proceeding that lasted roughly 11 minutes. Two-time Oscar winner Kevin Spacey leaving that courtroom in Nantucket, Massachusetts, where he is now headed to the probation department, being ordered by the judge there to stay away from the victim, to stay away from the victim's family as well. Good morning to you, Craig Melvin, here at MSNBC headquarters in New York City. We start with that breaking news. Kevin Spacey arraigned just a few moments ago on a felony charge, accused of sexually assaulting an 18-year-old man at a bar in 2016. If he is convicted, he could face up to 5 years in prison. A lot of drama unfolding on that tiny island of Nantucket. It's off the coast of Massachusetts, a summer destination for the affluent. NBC's Morgan Radford has been on duty there for us in Nantucket. She's live outside the courthouse. Also joined in studio by Danny Savalos and Lisa Green, and Katie Fang is standing by for us in Miami. Mr. Savalos, I'll start with you. March 4th, pretrial hearing. That's the next time attorneys for Kevin Spacey will be there, and attorneys for the town as well. What else can we expect at that pretrial hearing in March?
We learned today that we're going to probably hear a motion to preserve evidence. And the reason that's important is that the Commonwealth, and that's what the government's called in Massachusetts, can be held responsible if they lose exculpatory evidence. And that evidence would have been likely to affect the outcome of the proceeding. In a sense, the defense is doing the Commonwealth a favor, putting it on record that if you have this evidence, you may object later on to the scope of what we have to provide. But for now, put a lock on it, seal it, don't lose it, because if you do lose it, then we're going to come after you as the defense for losing it and ask the court to dismiss the case. That was a glimpse into part of the defense's plan going forward.
Lisa, any surprises there in the courtroom?
No, what you really saw was a lot of the painstaking housekeeping that goes on early on in these trials. It doesn't win the riveting award. We saw Kevin Spacey. He looked haggard, I think it's fair to say. He didn't speak, as far as I could hear during the live hearing.
We heard a thank you at the end to the judge.
Yeah, so very minimal, very different than the Kevin Spacey we all saw on YouTube just a month ago with that extraordinary, and some might even say excruciating, video that seemed to be exculpatory. I think, Craig, to really understand this case, let's take a quick look at the calendar. This event apparently happened in 2016, pre-Harvey Weinstein. After Harvey Weinstein's troubles became so public, after he lost everything and was himself criminally charged, the world changed. And what I think we're going to see now in the Kevin Spacey case is what goes on in a post-Weinstein world against someone who was at the pinnacle of his career when it all came crashing down.
And since October 2017, scores of men have come forward with their own allegations against Spacey.
Hey there, I'm Chris Hayes from MSNBC. Thanks for watching MSNBC on YouTube. If you want to keep up to date with the videos we're putting out, you can click subscribe just below me, or click over on this list to see lots of other great videos.